I'm Dan and welcome to Polar Currency Rare Note Spotlight number 2. This video series is possible because I had the incredible opportunity to view and document some very high-end and rare banknotes. Even though I can't afford these notes, I believe it's important to show historic, rare, scarce, and high-value banknotes. These notes are part of the currency collecting community and attract attention from collectors and non-collectors. I'm going in chronological order of denomination with almost 100 banknotes that I have documented. This note is important because it was the first $1 paper banknote ever issued by the U.S. federal government. The note is a Series $1 1862 legal tender note, Friedberg number 16C. It's a coincidence that I'm going in order of denomination because this note was just highlighted on the second video of Currency U, so I'm trying not to cover what was discussed in that video, but if you want a different, deeper dive, check out the link in the description below. The origins of the 1862 legal tender series was an indirect consequence of the U.S. Civil War. By 1860, the United States government was already in a financial precarious position, borrowing money at 12% interest rates, and now had to finance a war that officially began when Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter, South Carolina on April 12, 1861. As a result, Abraham Lincoln called Congress into an extra session later that July. Financing the war was very high on the agenda. The concept proposed was issuing interest-bearing and non-interest-bearing notes which would circulate as money. The acts of July 17 and August 19, 1861 approved $250 million as legal tender, but only $60 million for what are now called demand notes that would become the first federally issued, authorized paper money to truly circulate as currency under the U.S. Constitution. The law also stated that the non-interest-bearing notes could be no less than $10 and no more than $50. Well, that was a mistake, and it wasn't nearly enough. The demand notes did not have small denominations, which were key to daily commerce. Well, that led to more acts being passed, creating the series of 1862, which were officially called United States notes. They were issued in denominations of 1 through 1,000. The notes have two nicknames. The first is legal tender notes because of the financial obligation on the back, and the second is greenbacks. Well, that should be pretty self-explanatory now that you see the reverse of the note. But both names continue to this day. The notes were a fiat currency only backed by the faith that the public had in the government. Gold, silver, nickel, and copper were all being hoarded, and there wasn't enough coin to keep the economy going. Good or bad, it was needed, and it worked. Legal tender notes gave the U.S. government the ability to finance the war and to continue commerce. Without those notes, there's a very good possibility that the secession of the southern states would have been permanent. This banknote is Friedberg number 16C, and according to the Whitman Encyclopedia of U.S. Paper Money, published in 2009 and it's now out of print, 4.9 million notes were issued. An estimated 28.3 million Series 1862 $1 legal tenders were printed for all 10 Friedberg numbers. It's almost impossible to calculate the estimated survival rate, but there have been over 1,100 FR16C notes graded between PMG and PCGS banknote. FR16C was issued between August 1, 1862 and August 10, 1864. As you can see, this PCGS banknote graded 66, and it was sold in October 2022 for $16,200 and is tied for the second highest grade for all of the Series 1862 $1 legal tender notes graded by PMG and PCGS banknote. 9 have graded 66 EPQ PPQ, and only 1 is 67 EPQ by PMG. It's worth noting from what I've been able to determine that between Heritage and Stack's Bowers auctions, this note is the 10th highest selling Series 1862 $1 legal tender note. These statistics don't include PCGS Currency, the holders that suck, which was a company that licensed the PCGS name for banknote grading from 2009 to 2019. After losing the name PCGS, PCGS Currency became Legacy Currency Grading. These notes are known for exceptional paper quality, considering the time that they were produced, and many, even in lower grades, still have vibrant colors and are readily available and affordable. You can see this with my FR16 that's graded Choice Fine 15 with details for a repaired edge split. The signatures of the entire 1862 legal tender series were the first to bear the flamboyant styles of the signers, who were both integral in making U.S. paper currency happen in a very short time period in late 1861. What's kind of ironic is that these signatures get buried under the green security overprint for both the $1 and $2 series 1862 legal tenders. The top signature is Lucius E. Chittenden, who was the first register of the Treasury, a position that would later be eliminated after 1933. Salmon P. Chase recommended Chittenden to Abraham Lincoln, and he served most of his first term until resigning in 1864 due to poor health. Chittenden was born in Vermont in 1824 and was an abolitionist, author, banker, lawyer, and local politician, and a very early member of the fledgling Republican Party. The lower signature is the more well-known U.S. Treasurer Francis E. Spinner. Spinner was a politician from New York, a major general in the New York State Militia, and served 3 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives before being appointed by Lincoln in 1861 and served 2 more presidents until 1875. Spinner has become famous among currency collectors for being the only person to have his signature and portrait on the same paper currency. That was the second issue 50-cent fractional note. That fractional note was the 3rd note in a series that has the portraits of men who were still living and worked for the U.S. Treasury Department, by the way. They approved for themselves to be on fractional currency. This resulted in a law being passed, and for more on that, check out my video, Why You Have to Be Dead to Be on U.S. Currency. The blame got laid on somebody else, but Spinner does get credit for being the first administrator in the federal government to employ women for clerical jobs. On June 29, 1909, a bronze statue sponsored by the Daughters of the American Revolution was unveiled at Myers Park in Herkimer, New York, to honor Spinner. The left portrait is of Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase. I'm not going to go any deeper other than saying he was alive and approved his own likeness to be on the note, making him kind of the 4th guy to be alive and be on notes. Take that wherever you want to take it. Ginormous narcissist. I go much deeper in Why You Have to Be Dead in the Second Currency U videos, but the portrait was painted by Henry Oakey and engraved by Joseph P. Ordon. A few fun facts about these first legal tender notes is that because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the BEP, known first as the National Currency Bureau, was so new it had almost nothing when the notes were needed to be printed. The plates were engraved by the National Banknote Company and printed by both the American Banknote Company and the National Banknote Company, with some notes displaying both monograms on the lower center front. But the red Treasury seal was added by the National Currency Bureau in Washington, D.C. Also interesting is that there was a patent date, April 23, 1860. This refers to the use of chromium oxide green ink that was used for the underprint on the front and back of the notes. In 1857, an ink was patented by an American, Dr. Thomas Sterry Hunt, who was living in Canada. At the time, it was claimed this green ink could not be removed from a note without destroying the paper substrate. This later turned out not to be completely true. The underlying chemical caused the ink to be green. So green was not a design choice, but a functional anti-counterfeiting one. Final fun fact is that the 1862 $1 legal tenders were issued in 284 different numbered series with serial numbers from 1 to 100,000 for each issue. This note is Series 268. Well, that's it for Rare Note Spotlight for the Series 1862 $1 legal tender. Being the first $1 bill ever issued by the U.S. government gives it its place in currency history. It's an important note that is available and affordable and deserves to be a part of everyone's U.S. currency collection. As always, I appreciate your time, and if you like what you see, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and feel free to leave a comment. We'll see you in a few weeks, and thanks for checking in.